Your mind was not built to make you powerful. It was built to keep you alive. Thousands of years ago, survival meant avoiding risk, staying with a group, and repeating what worked yesterday. Your mind evolved to prefer safety over truth, comfort over growth, familiar pain over unfamiliar possibility. This is why fear feels reasonable. This is why excuses sound intelligent. This is why laziness can justify itself with perfect logic. The Stoics understood this long before neuroscience. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." Your mind does not show you reality. It shows you an interpretation designed to reduce discomfort. A difficult task becomes dangerous. A bold decision becomes reckless. A lonely path becomes unnatural. The mind reframes avoidance as wisdom. Seneca warned that we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. And yet, most people treat their anxious thoughts as if they are prophecies. If your mind says, "What if I fail? What if I look stupid? What if this goes wrong?" It feels like caution. But it is simply the animal part of you trying to avoid pain at all costs. The Stoics taught that the mind must be trained like a wild horse. Left alone, it runs toward comfort. It flees hardship. It panics at uncertainty. That is why discipline feels unnatural. That is why silence feels uncomfortable. That is why stillness feels threatening. Your mind resists anything that removes its illusions of control. To the Stoic, the solution is not to destroy the mind, but to dominate it. You do not obey every thought. You interrogate it. Is this fear useful? Is this thought true? Is this emotion helping me or ruling me? Most people never ask these questions. They assume the voice in their head is themselves. But the Stoics knew better. They treated the mind as a tool, not a master. And the man who lets his mind rule him will always choose comfort over character. Nietzsche believed something far more disturbing. He believed your thoughts are not truly yours. The values you defend, the fears you obey, the guilt you carry, the ambitions you suppress. They were planted there by the herd. From childhood, your mind is trained to seek approval, avoid standing out, and fear isolation. Not because society is evil, but because societies survive by producing obedient minds. Nietzsche called this slave morality, a system where weakness becomes virtue and strength becomes suspicious. Your mind learns to admire safety. It learns to fear dominance. It learns to praise humility while secretly resenting power. So when you want more from life, your own thoughts betray you. They say, "Who do you think you are? Stay realistic. Don't be arrogant. Don't disrupt the balance." These are not personal doubts. They are social reflexes. Nietzsche warned that the greatest prison is invisible. It exists inside your conscience. The herd does not need to chain you physically. It only needs to make you feel guilty for wanting more. Your mind becomes a moral policeman. It punishes ambition with shame. It punishes difference with anxiety. It punishes solitude with loneliness. So you stay where you are. You think like others. You fear what others fear. And you call this being reasonable. Nietzsche saw this as the tragedy of modern man. Not that he is oppressed, but that he willingly polices himself. Your mind becomes the guard of your own prison. It whispers, "Be normal, be safe, be small." Not because it hates you, but because it has been trained to worship stability. And the man who never questions his thoughts will never escape the herd that created them. Machiavelli understood power differently. He did not believe chains were were enough. He believed true control begins in the mind. A population that fears uncertainty will accept authority. A population that doubts itself will seek rulers. A population that mistrusts its own judgment will surrender its freedom. The same applies to the individual. If your mind fears responsibility, hates risk, craves reassurance, then you will always look for something to rule you. A job, a routine, a leader, a system, a belief. Machiavelli would say your thoughts are political weapons. Whoever shapes them governs you. If your mind tells you, better not try, better not question, better not step out, then power does not need force. You will regulate yourself. This is why fear is more useful than violence. Fear makes people obedient. Fear makes people predictable. Your own mind becomes a surveillance state. It watches your desires. It interrogates your impulses. It suppresses rebellion before it forms. You do not need a tyrant. Your thoughts will do the job. Machiavelli believed the strongest rulers control narratives. What people believe, what people expect, what people fear. Your mind does the same to you. It tells stories about who you are allowed to be. It sets boundaries around what feels possible. It edits your future before it happens. So you live inside a mental regime built from habit, fear, and inherited beliefs. And you call this identity. But Machiavelli would remind you, the most dangerous ruler is the one you cannot see. And the hardest prison to escape is the one you call your own thinking. Your mind does not want truth. It wants certainty. Truth is unstable. Truth demands change. Truth forces responsibility. So the mind replaces truth with stories. I'm just not that type of person. It's too late for me. That's just how the world works. People like me don't succeed. These are not facts. They're psychological shelters. The mind builds these stories to protect itself from effort, from risk, from humiliation. Illusions feel safe. They give your suffering meaning without requiring transformation. The Stoics warned against this. They said the mind clings to false judgments because they reduce inner conflict. If you believe, I cannot change, then you are free from trying. If you believe the system is rigged, then you are free from responsibility. If you believe life is unfair, then you are free from self-examination. Your mind prefers a lie that soothes over a truth that demands. Nietzsche said, illusions are necessary for survival, but fatal for greatness, because illusion keeps you alive while truth forces you to evolve. And evolution is painful, so the mind makes fear look like wisdom. It makes hesitation look like maturity. It makes surrender look like acceptance. This is why comfort is seductive. It tells you, stay as you are. The mind is loyal to continuity, not destiny. It wants today to look like yesterday, and tomorrow to resemble today. But a man who believes every thought will never become anything new. Your mind is afraid of silence, because silence removes distraction, and distraction hides fear. When there is no noise, no scrolling, no talking, no stimulation, you are left alone with your thoughts. And your thoughts are not friendly. They reveal regret, dissatisfaction, desire, emptiness. So the mind fills every moment. Music, voices, videos, tasks, drama, anything but stillness. The Stoics practiced stillness for this reason. They believed silence exposes false beliefs. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations alone, in darkness, surrounded by war. He did not seek peace. He sought clarity, because when the mind cannot hide behind noise, it must confront itself. Modern minds avoid this at all costs because stillness reveals you're not where you want to be. And instead of changing, the mind numbs. It creates a loop. Distraction to relief, to dissatisfaction, to distraction. And you call this normal life. But Nietzsche would say, the man who cannot sit alone is already owned. If you cannot face your own thoughts, someone else will supply them for you. Silence is dangerous because it removes the lies. And the mind would rather stay busy than be honest. Freedom is heavy. It means your failure is yours, your fear is yours, your weakness is yours. The mind does not want this weight, so it searches for something else to blame. The past, parents, society, luck, biology. Some of these are true, but the mind uses them as shelters. Machiavelli understood this instinct. He knew people prefer security over sovereignty. They want rulers because rulers absorb responsibility. The same happens inside the individual. If your mind can say, I had no choice, then it escapes judgment. If it can say, it's not my fault, then it escapes guilt. If it can say, this is just how things are, then it escapes effort. Your mind loves systems because systems carry blame, but freedom removes excuses. That is why freedom feels like danger, because danger means no one else to accuse. Your mind will invent obstacles to protect itself from exposure. It will say, now is not the time. Wait until you're ready. Better be safe. But safety is not neutral. Safety preserves what already exists. And what already exists is often dissatisfaction. The mind is not designed for liberation. It is designed for survival. And survival favors repetition over transformation. So the mind defends the cage, even when the door is open, not because it is evil, but because it is afraid of responsibility. Your mind does not resist freedom because it hates you. It resists freedom because freedom exposes you. Freedom removes alibis. Freedom removes enemies. Freedom removes the comfort of blame. When nothing is forcing you, controlling you, or trapping you, there's only one place responsibility can land: on you. And the mind finds this unbearable. It prefers a world where someone else is responsible, some system is at fault, some authority is in charge. Because as long as something else is responsible, you are safe from judgment. This is why people cling to explanations more than solutions. It's my childhood. It's society. It's the economy. It's just how I am. Some of these are true, but truth is not how they are used. They are used as shields. The Stoics warned about this instinct. They taught that the mind will search for external causes so it never has to confront its own weakness. Epictetus said, "If you wish to be invincible, make no treaty with fortune." But most minds do the opposite. They build their entire identity around fortune. If life goes wrong, they look outward. If life feels empty, they look outward. If they fail, they look outward. Because looking inward means confronting choice, and choice means guilt. Choice means I could have acted differently. The mind hates this sentence, so it constructs a narrative where it had no real control. This is not stupidity. It is psychological survival, because guilt is heavier than suffering. A man can endure poverty. He can endure rejection. He can endure loneliness. What he cannot endure is believing he caused it. So the mind edits the story. It transforms weakness into fate. It transforms fear into realism. It transforms laziness into philosophy. Machiavelli understood this instinct on a political level. He observed that populations do not truly want freedom. They want protection from responsibility. They want rulers to decide, systems to blame, laws to hide behind. Because when authority exists, failure belongs to authority. The same dynamic happens inside the individual. Your mind becomes a small government. It passes laws about what is possible. It creates policies about what is allowed. It enforces borders around your ambition. And whenever you attempt to cross those borders, it declares an emergency. It raises fear. It raises doubt. It raises caution. Not to save you from danger, but to save you from exposure. Because exposure means standing alone with no excuse. And that is what the mind fears most. Not pain, not death, but judgment. The judgment that says, this life is yours. And that is why your mind prefers dependency. Dependency on habits, dependency on routines, dependency on other people's rules. Because as long as you are dependent, you're not sovereign. And as long as you're not sovereign, you're not guilty. The mind will always choose innocence over freedom.